Well, Google takes a hit after the government orders the company not to silence employees from expressing their political views. Now, the National Labor Relations Board struck a settlement with Google after a wave of complaints accused the tech giant of punishing employees for speaking out on political issues that are not in par with the company's agenda. Well, for the 360 View, we turned to our political panel with LaDawn Jones, former Georgia State Representative, and Kristen Ruby, conservative commentator. Thank you so much for joining me, ladies.
Absolutely. Thanks, Scotty.
Okay, so I have to actually kind of laugh at this because the fact we have a company agenda should be our first red flag on both of our sides. But I'm going to start with you, LaDawn. Did freedom of speech have a win today, do you think?
You know, I have a hard time. The business owner in me comes out, right? I can understand Google's position. Politics, religion, there's certain things that when you mix it with the workplace, it becomes weird. And we have to remember this started from an issue where employees were talking on employee-based message boards. And so I think Google should have some control over what employees are talking about during their work paid hours if it's not work-related. However, if it does look unfair, if it looks unbiased, I would want a company to be regulated if I worked in a conservative atmosphere, and anytime I mentioned anti-Trump views, they wanted to shut me down. So it's a win for free speech, but it's a loss for open business and capitalism in our country.
Well, and that's the thing, Kristen, and as LaDawn pointed out, it depends, I think, also what kind of business you're in. If you're, an accountant or if you're in medical staffing, that's one thing. If your whole job is to show information, to spread information, to publish people's information, I think there is a point of political bias or political leanings coming into play. But I wanted to ask you, Kristen, why did it take a lawsuit for this basically to become public as happening at a Google, at a platform that publishes information?
Yeah, I mean, so to start with here, I think Google is having a very bad week, right? I mean, we have this massive antitrust probe that's going on that everyone is now involved with. It's a great question you're posing here. Why did it take this? I mean, you have all of these employees who are actually former employees coming out as whistleblowers now with Google's search engine practices, and that is not really an accident here. I think from a PR standpoint, this is embarrassing for Google. I don't think this is a victory at all for free speech or for anything of that matter. And I think that this actually lends itself to the larger question here, which is that why does Google have to be reminded that free speech is something that shouldn't be, monitored at all? What does that tell you here? What that tells you is that so many people on the right who have said for a very long time that Google is monitoring search engine results are clearly not wrong here. If your own internal employees are basically accusing you of the very same thing, you have to look at that and wonder why. They can't all be wrong.
Well, and that's the thing, LaDawn, so often, as she points out, we do hear this happening on the conservative side. They're the ones that are saying that they're having to hold their speech in there. But we very rarely hear that about happening on the left, that people feel like I can't express my opinions on the left in the workplace. Can you think of any examples in that, and why do you think that is?
Well, we do see. We saw that the University of Alabama, I believe, recently let go of a dean of students based on something that he said related to police brutality on his Twitter page. And he was asked to resign, and he did. And it was a more liberal thinking point of view. I mean, it wasn't at his job. It was on Twitter. It predated him working there. But we do see instances where people with a more liberal leaning point of view are shut down. However, I think part of that is because liberals in general tend to be more open and freedom to knowing that there are going to be a diverse ideas that come in. The issue with Google is that we all feel like we have ownership interest in Google, right? We start our searches there. It's become a verb. I'm going to Google something, and I think that's why the attention has been placed on them.
Kristen, your response?
I would say really, though, that actually, as consumers, we have zero ownership in Google and what they're doing. And I think if we look at Google's ability really to meddle in the elections, as we've already seen, and as we are concerned that this can happen again, I mean, if you look at Google's power, just massive monopoly in tech right now, in big tech, they have the ability to derank, to re-rank, to change optimizations and algorithms anytime they want and basically not tell you why. Not only is this important from a political perspective for elections and candidates and what that means, it's also important for every small business owner in this country, because your business, your rankings can tank overnight. Why? Because Google has decided that they're going to change the game in the playing field and not tell you why. So tell me how that's fair for small business owners.
LaDon.
How is that different for any other business? If you are you have a certain dessert that you're selling in a store, and all the grocery stores decide to put you in the bottom shelf in the back corner, which pushes people to something else, that's a part of the free market that we have there. I know we are very reliant on technology, and we want transparency. I encourage that, but I don't see how that's any different than all the other free market options that we have out there.
Kristen?
Well, because I think there's a difference in free market and in working hard and where you're placed versus Google determining where you're going to be placed, right? So I'm all for a free market and everyone having that opportunity to be placed in the front of the store or the bottom, but that's not necessarily what we're referring to here. We're referring to Google deciding because of their views and their algorithm who is going to get front and center placement on search engine results, on snippets, and in their algorithm.
Well, and real quick about the views, do we actually think this is going to change anything? LaDon?
I don't think so. Absolutely not. I mean, I think they may be more clandestine in how they do it, but if the company is set on these positions, I think they'll find tech is so far ahead of the law, right, it's going to be hard for the law to catch up.
And Kristen, you have to agree with that we're probably not going to see any changes on that. And sadly, it's all just a PR move at this stage, and they need it.
Yeah. They do need it, and I think that they don't actually realize they need it. So no, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see any positive changes from Google.
Kristen, LaDon, thank you so much for
this
this respectful conversation, and it's across the board equal, I hope, and fair, unlike Google sometimes. Thank you to you both.